Hello, you beautiful bastards, and welcome to my so-called show. Following the release of License to Kill, a Fair Dalton movie was in the process of being made, but some legal issues caused delays, which I won't get into here as there's other videos on that subject that will go into greater detail. These same delays led to Dalton's contract to expire, and even though he was offered another contract, he declined, since he was already getting too old for the role, and that would mean doing more movies well until he was in his late 50s. And we all know how being in your late 50s pans out for Bond actors.
You're not getting a bit long in the tooth.
He's charming, isn't he?
So he was out, and since Remington Steele was finished, Pierce Brosnan was available. Yay! But even with the legal problems, the movie finally was finished. But could Brosnan win back the Bond fans who were skeptical of Dalton's more violent take? Well, leg-squeezing psycho babes and invincible backstabbing dweebs, this is Goldeneye. Released in November 1995, Goldeneye sees Bond, this time played by Pierce Brosnan, track down a Soviet general named Ourumov, played by Gottfried John, who has stolen a powerful weapon named Goldeneye.
He said it! He said it!
With the help of the sexy yet psychotic Xenia Onatop, played by Famke Janssen. But in order to achieve his mission, he must find a computer programmer called Natalia, played by the smoking hot Isabella Scopio. I'm just going to say Scopio. Who is a witness to Ourumov's betrayal. But is Ourumov the real face behind this? And is Bond past about to catch up with him? While the darker tone of License to Kill put off a lot of fans who felt it robbed the franchise of its sense of adventure, this managed to balance the tone of the grittier Bond films with the romanticism that made the franchise a success. This was the first Bond to come after the end of the Cold War, which was a risky move. This was a character that encapsulated that period in history when tensions between the East and the West were high. But thanks to Martin Campbell's no-nonsense direction, Goldeneye became one of the best Bond films ever made. Goldeneye also showed there was still life in the martini-sipping lady killer well after the Cold War. The film starts off with probably one of the best openings in the Bond franchise, and that is where Bond jumps off the dam. This was a dangerous one to attempt, as it was one of the longest bungee jumps ever done at the time. People were worried the whiplash would badly injure the stuntman. They were worried he wouldn't be able to pull out the grappling gun in time before the shot was obstructed. Thankfully, they pulled it off, and it still amazes me the more I watch it. And it might be the best introduction to a new Bond since Connery and Dr. No.
Beg your pardon? Forgot to knock.
It reassured audiences that the character was still in good hands. It was also the perfect opening to showcase how perfect Brosnan was for the role. It showed he can be ruthless, dangerous, able to adapt when he needs to. I mean, look how he moves across the room. He moves like a cat. A cat that could charm you and fuck you up. And while I like Dalton's more harder-edged take on the character, he lacked the personality to pull off the humour as well as the suave, panty-dropping charm of Connery, and more. Brosnan, however, pulls off everything needed to play James Bond. He has the charm, he's smooth, he's cool, he's no nonsense, but he has a boyish sense of humour.
No. No more foreplay. Take me to Yanis.
And he even pulls off the harder edge when he needs to.
Sweet dreams.
It was also the first James Bond film to establish the fact he was an orphan, giving you hints onto why he is the way he is, without laying it on too thick the way the Daniel Craig movies tried to do.
Cuckoo.
What the fuck is this?
Not only that, we get a new M, played this time by Judi Dench. Dench really sells the role as a no-nonsense Harley-strung M, but not once does she come across as smug, arrogant or petulant. She toes that line between discipline and compassion in a performance that would endear her to fans as the franchise went on. She bluntly calls out Bond's BS.
You don't like me, Bond. You don't like my methods. You think I'm an accountant. A bean counter more interested in my numbers than your instincts.
The thought had occurred to me.
Good. Because I think you're a sexist, misogynist dinosaur.
Point taken.
Not quite, 007. If you think for one moment I don't have the balls to send a man out to die, your instincts are dead wrong. I've no compunction about sending you to your death.
But at the same time shows a hint of respect.
Bond? come back alive.
That was beautiful.
Samantha Bond makes her first appearance as Moneypenny, and she does improve over Carolyn Bliss. And straight away these two actually click. I even like that Moneypenny is out dating other men and is not just spending 24 hours phoning over Bond.
Hope springs eternal.
You know, this sort of behaviour could qualify as sexual harassment.
She still doesn't top Lois Maxwell, who was flirtatious without coming across obsessive, but she was still likeable in the role. Joe Don Baker returns to the franchise, but this time as CIA agent Jack Wade.
Show me the rose.
Please, no. All right.
Muffy? Third wife.
And I guess he was basically replacing Felix Leiter, but thankfully he turned out to be a likeable ally. I love how he's more rough and ready in contrast to the more refined Bond, and he brings an everyman quality. It's just a shame that with the exception of Tomorrow Never Dies, we never saw more of him in the Brosnan era. Isabella Scorpio smolders as Natalia Romanoff. She's a normal woman thrust into an extreme situation, and while not the most capable fighter, she is still useful and shows to be tough when she needs to be.
Where is the Goldeneye?
I assumed you had it.
I have an English spy, a Severnaya programmer, and the helicopter they stole.
Or at least that's what some traitor in your government wanted it to
Who is
look
behind
like.
your attack on Severnaya?
Who had the authorization code?
Russia may have changed, but the penalty for terrorism is still death.
And
Mr.
what's the
Bond.
penalty for treason?
Oh, stop it, both of you! Stop it! You're like boys with toys.
The late Robbie Coltrane is also entertaining as Zukovsky, a Russian gangster, an ex-KGB agent bitter over the injury Bond inflicted on him, and despite being a total sleazebag, he is also fun to watch.
James Bond. Charming, sophisticated secret agent. Shaken but not disturbed.
Both he and Bond sell the history of these two, but just don't insult his bit on the side.
I'm strangling the cat.
Strangling a cat. That is Irina, my mistress.
Very talented girl.
And speaking of which, the actress who plays his tone-deaf mistress is Minnie Driver, who is actually a good singer. And this always cracks me up.
Irina! Take a hike!
Desmond Llewellyn returns as the only cast member from the pre-Brosnan era, and just like with M and Moneypenny, Brosnan instantly clicks with him.
Don't say it.
The writing's on the wall, along with the rest of it.
He comes across more and more as someone who enjoys his work, and yes, the gadgets are pretty fucking awesome. We get a rope-repelling bell to help Brosnan go Errol Flynn on those pesky Ruskies. As well as setting up a pen for an exploding payoff.
They all said the pen was mightier than the sword.
Thanks to me, they were right.
And this line also makes me laugh.
Don't touch that. It's my lunch.
The villains are also memorable. Gottfried intimidates as General Oromov, perfectly balancing the cold ruthlessness of the character while not being afraid to go a little over the top.
Use the bumper. That's what it's for.
Somehow it never comes across as inconsistent. He convinces as an authoritative figure as well as a psychotic. Alan Cummins is also fun as the pen-spinning hacker Boris, and you can tell he's having a blast playing this snivelling little weasel. He's an arrogant, smug little twat who has no trouble showing off how good he is, always uttering the stupid line.
I am invincible. I am invincible.
But it is a very funny line, and it sets up a pretty darkly funny death scene.
Yes, I am invincible.
Famke Jensen takes the femme fatale duties as the sadistically horny Xenia Onatop. And just like Fatima Blush in Never Say Never Again, I love this absolute nut job. How can you not? She kills people by wrapping her legs around them and squeezing them to death.
Xenia, I can't breathe. Nice.
I mean, there's worse ways to go out. Not only that, she actually gets aroused when she kills, like in this scene where she murders Natalia's colleagues. Even Oromov is thinking, Jesus Christ, and I thought I was sick in the head. Jensen has never looked sexier, and she does not mess about. She goes all in. She's not only one of the best henchmen up there with Oddjob and Jost, but also one of the sexiest. Sean Bean takes over as the main villain and is convincingly ruthless as rogue agent Alec Trevelyan. And yeah, we've seen other villains in the franchise work as the flip side to Bond, but Alec has a more personable connection to Bond. He was Bond's friend. Bond still feels guilt over letting him die. He was a 00 agent. He knows Bond. He knows how he works, how he thinks. He knows his moves and how to outsmart him. He's the perfect foil. And the betrayal does feel genuine. Yes, Sanchez was the flip side to Bond as well, and he was also someone Bond had a grudge against. And while I love Robert Davi's performance, as well as rate him as one of my favourite villains, Trevelyan actually feels like a Bond villain, while Sanchez feels more like a Miami Vice villain. But just like Sanchez's death, it's not only brutal, but also serves as a great fuck you from Bond. Throughout the film, Alec utters a line.
For England. For England, James.
But later, after Bond gets the drop on him.
For England, James? No. For me. Oh, crikey.
And as if Alec's luck couldn't get any worse, not only does he survive the fall, he has to witness his own satellite dish fall on him. Did I mention the best villain deaths have to be a big fuck you? Well, this is the creme de la creme of fuck you villain deaths. I already mentioned the opening with the awesome bungee jump, but the excitement doesn't stop there. There's an awesome tank chase, as well as a pretty visceral fight between Bond and Alec Trevelyan, which is almost reminiscent of the train fight between Bond and Redding from Rush with Love. Jesus Christ, you feel every fucking hit, and I pretty much winced a couple of times watching it, and I still do every time I do rewatch this. But what's a great Bond movie without an awesome title theme? Tina Turner does not fuck about on the vocals. It's slinky, explosive, mysterious, and harks back to the sassiness of the first Shirley Bassey themes. And I love the images in the title sequence with the crumbling Soviet statues, symbolising the new age that Bond is in now, while also serving as a reminder of the past that defined the character. But even though it's up there with the best Bond movies, it still has its problems. Eric Sierra's synthesised water drop music is absolutely terrible. There are a couple of moments where the score does help ramp up the tension, but the only time the score actually became awesome was during the tank chase. And even that wasn't done by Eric Sierra, it was done by John Altman. Bond's BMW never gets used. We get one funny line where Jack Wade borrows it.
Just one thing.
Yeah.
Don't push any of the buttons on that car.
We're just gonna go bombing around, ain't it?
Exactly.
But anyway, it doesn't take away how fucking awesome this movie is. It brought Bond into a new age while remembering what it was that got people hooked on these movies. And it returned that sense of adventure the last Bond was lacking. So overall, it's a slick, violent, gritty, yet fun spy thriller. So out of all the Brosnan Bond movies, Goldeneye is still the gold standard. So that was Goldeneye. Next up, Tomorrow Never Dies.